Katie and the Impressionists, James Mayhew. It was Grandma's birthday, and for a special treat, she had taken Katie to the art gallery. Katie loved the gallery because you never knew what you were going to see there. "Look at the flowers in the paintings," said Grandma. "I can only see blobs," said Katie. "The pictures are made up of blobs," said Grandma. "But when you stand back, the blobs make a picture." Katie wandered off into the next room to try. There she saw a painting called The Luncheon by Claude Monet. When she stood back, Katie could see a garden. Grandma would love flowers like those for her birthday, she thought. She closed her eyes and sniffed. She was sure she could smell the flowers. And when Katie opened her eyes, there she was, in the garden. "May I pick some flowers?" she asked a little boy. He called to his mother, who came and sat down to lunch with her maid. "A bouquet?" she said. "Why not? Jean, you go and help her." "Thanks," said Katie. "They're for my grandma." "I sometimes pick flowers for my papa," said Jean. "He paints pictures of them. Come and see." Jean took Katie to a room full of pictures, like a small gallery. "This is Papa's studio," he said. "He's a famous painter called Claude Monet." "I'm good at painting," said Katie. "Let's have a go." They mixed the paint on palettes with brushes and found canvases to paint on. They painted portraits of each other using blobs, just like real painters. "Now I'd better get back to Grandma," said Katie. "Will you come another day?" asked John. "I'll try," said Katie. She picked up the bunch of flowers and, waving goodbye, climbed back through the frame into the gallery. Katie saw that her flowers were beginning to wilt. "What I need is some water," she said, looking around the gallery. She saw a painting called A Girl with a Watering Can by Pierre-Auguste Renoir. Katie looked around her to make sure no one was watching and climbed inside. "May I have some water for my flowers?" said Katie. The little girl put the flowers into her watering can. "Voila!" she said. But the flowers still drooped and flopped over. "Come and pick some more," said the girl. So Katie and the girl trampled through the garden picking flowers. Katie pretended it was a jungle and that she was a panther chasing the girl. Suddenly, there was a terrible scream. It was the girl's mother. "You have ruined my garden," she shouted. "It wasn't me," said the girl. "It was her." And she pointed at Katy. "Come here, you naughty child," said the mother. But Katy ran for the picture frame and leapt into the gallery, leaving the flowers scattered behind her. Katy sighed. She didn't dare go back to fetch the flowers. She went to look at the other pictures. There were a lot of pictures by Mr. Monet. Katy looked at one called Wild Poppies. Wasn't that John, the painter's son, walking through the field? Katy climbed in to see. It was Jean. He was delighted to see her. "We're going on a picnic," he said. And John's mother said that Katy could join them. They walked together through the poppy field, looking for somewhere to sit. Jean helped Katy gather armfuls of poppies for Grandma. Then they sat in the shade of a tree, the perfect place for a picnic. Mrs. Monet opened a bag. She had bread and cheese and strawberries. But Jean heard a buzzing noise and looked up. A black cloud of bees was flying towards them. "They are after my poppies," shouted Katy. Jean and his mother ran into the poppy field. But Katy ran to the picture frame and dived into the gallery. The bees followed Katy, who ran on and on until she reached a window. She flung it open and threw the poppies out. The bees flew after them. Katy still didn't have any flowers for Grandma. She saw another picture by Pierre-Auguste Renoir called At the Theatre. It showed a girl holding a posy of flowers. "Grandma would love a posy like that," said Katy, jumping into the picture. "May I have your flowers?" asked Katy. "I'll swap my hair ribbon." "Hush," said the girl. "The ballet is about to begin." Katy looked for a seat, but they were all full. The theatre manager appeared. "Mademoiselle, may I see your ticket?" he said. Katy didn't have one, so she ran off down some steps. She could hear the manager coming after her, and Katy ran into a room to hide. It was full of people in colorful costumes who shouted at Katy, so she ran away from them towards some bright lights and the sound of music. Katy pushed past heavy velvet curtains and found herself on stage. The dancers held their breath, so did the musicians in the orchestra. So did the audience. What was Katy going to do? Katy danced. The music started up again, and Katy pranced all round the stage. How the audience loved her! They had never seen anyone dance so strangely before. They cheered and clapped and threw flowers. Hundreds of flowers fell upon Katy as she twirled around. "Well done," the audience shouted. "Bravo!" When the music stopped, Katy curtsied and gathered up her flowers. The manager rushed over to her. "My dear, you have such talent." Katy blushed. "I just jumped around a bit, really," she said. "You must dance every night. You will be famous," said the manager. "Thanks, but it's Grandma's birthday," said Katy. "I must get back." Backstage, Katy saw a frame leading to the gallery. "That's not the frame I came through," she said. "These dances must be a different picture by another artist. I wonder which one." She gathered up her bouquet and climbed through the frame into the gallery. Katy looked back at the picture. "Dances in Blue by Edgar Degas," she read. "I wonder if I would have been painted if I had stayed still long enough," she said. Then Katy ran over to her grandma and gave her the flowers. "Happy birthday, Grandma!" "Oh, I say," said Grandma, "wherever did you get these lovely flowers?" Katy laughed. But what was that in her pocket? It was a paintbrush. "Mr. Monet will need that," she thought. She ran back to the first picture, left the brush on the frame, and then ran to catch up with her grandma. That's the end.